Assalamu alaikum everyone, how are you guys doing? So in my last video about how much the Islamic University Medina costs, link down below in the description, I've been receiving a lot of comments and questions about how one can get their wife here. Sure, it may cost a lot of money to have your wife here and all that stuff, but how does one actually get to the process of getting their wife from their country to Medina? In this video, I would talk to you guys about how to get your wife here. There are about 5 different ways. 2 being really short term, 3 being a little bit longer. And we'll be talking about them, the process of getting your wife here, and how long they can stay with those visas and all that stuff. And then after that, I'll also be talking to you guys about once you get your wife here, about the cost of Medina, getting a house, and so on and so forth. So let's begin. There are 5 practical ways of taking your wife here. Now let's talk about the first 2, which are super short term, extremely short term. The first way of getting your wife here is through an Umrah Visa. A lot of countries offer these, and all you have to do is go through a travel agency or apply online for these visas, and you can come here to do Umrah. Now, a lot of countries have a restriction on this, I think. And what this restriction is that you have to go through a travel agency, you have to go through a company who's going to do Umrah. And this company might just go 1 week in Medina or 2 weeks or whatever, a little bit longer. And they're restrictive. Now in America at least, I know that you can do Umrah without a company, without a group of people taking you there. So you have more flexibility. However, again, it's very short term because the Umrah visa is not you can stay here for 2-3 years. It's only a couple of times. It's only a short period that you can stay here. I know some brothers who do this with their wives. They tell them to apply for Umrah visa, and when they have those 2 to 3 week breaks between the semesters, that's when they get them that way. Again, this is very short term. I just mentioned this as a suggestion. But this is very short term, and it's not really the most practical thing out there anyway. Second way you can get your wife is through a tourist visa. Now, not all countries have the right to get tourist visas. There's a list, and I put it down below in the description, the link that can take you guys to the list of countries that have the right for the tourist visa. And the tourist visa, I think it's different. I don't know if it's different with other countries, but at least with Americans, how it is. So you apply online, and the duration of the visa is 1 year. So right when you enter the country, you have a 1-year period, and it's a multiple entry visa. So you can come in, come out whenever you want within that duration of the 1 year. However, you can't stay the entire year continuously. And what I mean by this is they have a period of 90 days. I think it's 3 months. You have the duration of 1 year, but every 90 days, they would have to leave the country, and then they can come back and the visa restarts again. That's how the system works, in a multiple entry visa. I know a lot of students who have done this, and this is different for some people. Because I had some people from England who they got their wives here, but their wives were only allowed to stay for 3 months. I think some countries have different restrictions in place with this. Again, look at the link down below in the description. I did not do this to bring my wife. I had another means, which I will explain later in the video. But there's also a quick solution. Is short term in the sense that you only have 1 year. And obviously the 90 days, another 90 days, you have to leave and come back. It can be a little bit difficult, but this is one short-term solution to how to bring your wife here. And all you have to do is apply online. It's a really quick process. Now, let's look at the 3 longer ways of how you can bring your wife here. The first longer way, and this is kind of not long, and is kind of long or short depending on what country you're from, and that's bring your wife as a visitor. There's a visitor visa that this was only allowed for students who were in the kulliyah, in the college, but now they open up for people in the mahad as well. What the visitor's visa is that once you get your Iqama here, your social security number or whatever it's called here, then you can apply for your wife to come here as your wife through your Iqama, and they'll be a visitor in this country. I don't know about other countries, but I think other countries, depending on where you're from, the limit of stay here is shorter. I know some people have 1 year, maybe some people have some countries have longer. But when I applied, not for my wife or some of my family members to come here, because you can do your family members as well. You can do as many people as you want. When you do the visitor's visa, it's not just restricted to your wife. You can also bring your father, your mother, any close relatives. And when I applied for my family, it shows that they can come here and stay for a total of 3,650 days. 10 years. They literally can stay for 10 years. That's the duration of their visa, which is pretty crazy. But they do have a restriction. And the restriction is every, I think 180 days, I think that was the case for here, 180 days, they have to leave the country. So right before that 180 days hits, exceeding it, they would have to leave the country, go anywhere else they want, and then come back and it restarts. However, it's not for all countries. Some countries have a little bit less. I know, again, like UK, I think Canadians are very Western, obviously, have a little bit less. So it depends on the country. Now, there's a process in doing this. And I put the link down below in the description. And there's a website you go in, and then you put your Iqama number, and then you go, and it's very self-explanatory. It's also in English. And then once you put all the information down, check it, and then you click like confirm or whatever it is, and they give you a PDF. That PDF, you save it, and that PDF will have, I think, their like visa number or whatever attached to their name, their passport, all that stuff. You need that in order to like send out their visa, so don't lose that PDF, like save it on your computer and print it out. Then once you do that, you have to go to the Jamiya Islamiyya website, put in your student ID and all that stuff. Then you have to go through some of these pages, and from those pages you will have to print out another PDF. This will be that with your name attached and your Iqama and stuff like that, and you need and just have to print that out. And you get both of these pieces of paper, and you go to I think you go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here by the Jamiya Islamiyya. It's really close, and then you just grab the two pieces of paper, you give it to them, you sign, and that's it. Once you do that, then the visa will be sent out to whatever country you're from. They can get their visa then in a couple of days. Fourth way of getting your wife or wives is applying it through the school. Essentially what it is, and this is more of the traditional, the classic way of getting your wife that many students do. And what it is you apply for your wife through the school. Then you're telling them, this is my wife, and the school will like sponsor your wife. Like all the students here are sponsored by the school, and the school will also sponsor your wife to come as your wife. However, there must be certain conditions met in order for you to get your wife through this way. The first condition is you must have finished 2 semesters in the college, not in the mahad. So you have to finish 2 semesters in the college. They used to have it, I think, for the mahad way back in the day, but they eliminated that. And I know many students who what they do is, instead of staying in the mahad, even though they don't know Arabic that well, they'll try their best doing really good on the entrance exam and go to the college so they can bring their wife over. Which, I mean, I guess, but I wouldn't advise it because there's other ways of getting your wife throughout the year. So you would have to have finished 2 semesters of the university, and you would also have to have I think, Jiddan GPA average, grade point average, which I think would be a B+. 4 point something out of 5. And the reason why they do this is so students can have an incentive to study hard. They're like, well, I can't bring my wife over if I'm doing really bad in school. So they have to incentivize them to push harder and get A's and B pluses or whatever. So yeah, that's the reason why they do it. The last condition that needs to be met, which is for many students the hardest part, is you need to give the school or the country or whatever it is $8,000. Yeah, it's a lot. And the reason for this $8,000 that you have to deposit once you get your wife here, let's say something happens and you're not able to support your wife at that moment, or you're not there, or whatever the case may be, then they can take that money away from the $8,000 that you deposited in order to pay for whatever the case may be. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, and Allah protect us, somebody's wife was to get sick, and the husband, let's say, is not able to go there, or he can't afford it with this mukaf from the school, then they would take it from the $8,000 to pay for the medical bills and whatever, they have to pay for. So it's just sort of like a protection sort of thing that they do that for. That's the reason why they do it. And this part is very hard for most students just because it's $8,000. $8,000 is a lot of money. And people have a hard time doing it, but this is a condition that the school has. And then once you do it this way, once you apply, you submit, and you do everything, that's it. Your wife is here. And she stays here as long as you stay here. Let's say you want to stay for your bachelor's, master's, doctorates. She stays here throughout the entire term. Now, I don't know if there's a process throughout those terms, it's because I haven't been through this experience. But I do know that this is the long-term goal, that they stay here for the long term. Now, the last way that you can get your wife, which is the way I got my wife, is through Taibah University. So Taibah University is a university that's literally parallel to the school. It's right in front of it. And there's a college for women at Taibah University where they can apply. There's Islamic studies programs, there's tafsir, hadith. So I know some people who do apply for their wives here. Now, the benefit of this is you don't have to deposit anything. You don't have to be in any mustawa or semester in the university. And from your part, at most, you might have to pay for her ticket coming here, but then the school pays for the ticket leaving. But again, like trying to connect those tickets might be hard, so you may have to pay for that ticket as well. That's besides the point. Not only that, but if they're a Taibah student, they get 200 riyals mukafa every month, which helps with the bills. However, your wife needs to know Arabic. Yeah, not everyone can do this. The school has no mahad, like in Jamiat Islamiyya. It's either you know Arabic or you don't. They don't have. I don't think they have a test. Yeah, they don't have a test to test your Arabic. But obviously, like if you don't know any Arabic, like you're not gonna do good. You know what I'm saying? So I know a lot of people who do it this way, but again, a condition is they have to know Arabic, which of course, like you don't pay you pay a little bit less, but you gotta have something else. So it's all a balance. So those are the 5 ways of getting your wife here in the Islamic University of Medina. The 2 short ways, the 3 kind of longer term ways. And all of these have those, like, easy parts and those hard parts of how to apply and so on. But once you get your wife here, inshallah all of you guys do, how is living with your wife here? Right when I came here, like I stayed like a couple of months without my wife. Then she came, alhamdulillah. And there is a difference right when you get your wife. And the difference that I realized was the beginning part of when you get your wife. The first couple of months can be really hard, just because you're no longer a student at the Islamic University of Medina, where you get your free dorm room, you have to pay a couple of cents for food and stuff. You have to do everything on your own then. You have to find your house, you got to find a car, you got to go to grocery shopping, because you're not going to get the Jamiah food to eat, obviously, unless some people do, but I don't know. And I advise people to like have that mindset of saying the first 2, 3, 4 months or whatever is really difficult. For me, I couldn't get a car right away. When my wife came, it would be like only a month or whatever till the summer hits, and I just find it beneficial to get a car, not even like really use it, leave it in the sun for like 3 months of the summer and then come back. And I didn't have a house that time, so I didn't go through that way. And it was basically me getting Ubers, taxis, every single day to go to school, come back from school, or to go to the store or whatever it is. Now, obviously, I had some friends and like my brother-in-law helped me out, but the different schedules in school and the different places I had to go and do, it was not practical. It was very hard. Like I wasted a lot of money just going with Uber, and even Uber here is not like, Uber New York City where, you click at it and then they're 1 minute away and they come. No. Uber here takes like, 5, 6, 7, maybe even like 15 minutes. So that was a little bit hard, that stage. Now the other stage that was hard was when I got a car and the house. I had a house, so I had to look around for a house, which took a long time because not as easy, there's no like Zillow here. There is a Zillow, but it's not like, it was hard for me to use. So I had to look around for a house. Once I got the house, a lot of the houses here are not furnished. There's just like tiles and like the walls, and that's it. So you had to set everything up. You had to get the AC, which was some money. You had to get the house, you had to get the bed, the cabinets. The kitchen had to be set up. The kitchen, most of it was set up, but some parts were not. Then you have to clean the house because the house hasn't been cleaned, and it's like a lot of work to do, man. So much work. I remember I would go to school, and then after school, me and my wife would like go to this house and like clean it up and get it ready and go to the store and buy stuff and it's a little bit hard in the beginning, and I want you guys to keep that in mind. Like if you're gonna bring your wife here and you're still not here in Medina, like prep for that. Start working because it costs money. It's not like you there's no way you can get a house here with just the mukafa money, the monthly stipend here in the school. Get a job or like do a part-time thing, whatever. Save up money. When you get accepted, maybe like next year, you have a good stack of money. You can buy a house and a car and all that stuff. In my last video, I talked about, getting a job or like, working part-time or whatever the case may be, depending on your situation, so you can save up money. And I really advise students to do that because I know some students who they didn't do that. They come here and they're like going crazy. They're like asking like people like, hey, can I borrow some money here? Can I borrow some? I'll pay you back. And then they got to think about, okay, who do I owe money to? Did I pay this guy back? Or I didn't pay this guy back. And it's like, trust me, like take some time away from your free time home and save up money if you can. This will help you guys out so much. Trust me on this. There's no one here in the Islamic University of Medina who is just running on the mukafa, who's married. No one. People their parents either help them, which inshallah some of your parents can help you guys, or they work when they're not here, or they work online, or they ask people for help. And if you ask people for help, again, like, you're in debt to them. You have to find a way to pay them back. You just have to think, like, how do I pay them back? And it's like, you never know what happens. Like, one speeding ticket you get, and that's a lot of riyals, and you're like, a lot of your mukafa is gone. And that's the reality. Like, what are you going to do for the rest of the month then? Now, obviously, I made it look like it's really hard, but I'm going to tell you guys something. Like, for the non-married people, like, don't postpone your marriage just because you're afraid of, I got to finish my studies. Like, don't go down that route. Trust me on this, guys. Getting married helps a lot. I know sometimes people have this fear of, if I get married, then I have to, like, it takes away from my studies and it takes away from this. No. Look, everyone wastes their time. Like, everyone has, like, people are not just 24/7, like, studying. People are going to waste their time, like, having coffee with their friends. People are going to waste their time, like, going out with people or whatever the case, or watching, football. And, like, when you're married, like, sure, those things, like, no matter what will go away, but you're spending time with your wife. Like, it's 100 times better. And that's the thing I'm trying to tell you guys is, like, while it is hard, there's a lot of benefit to it. Having somebody by your side, having somebody who's helping you, having somebody when you're stressed out, like, hear your problems, stuff like that, easily eliminates the other issues that are surrounding it. Like, for you non-married people, don't postpone it. And for you married people, like, even though it might be hard sometimes, like, there's a blessing in it. Even the Prophet ﷺ, like, when he was poor in Mecca and people were, like, persecuting him, he had 9 wives. Like, think about, like, what kind of a man he was. He had 9 wives. He fed them. He respected every single one of them. And he was, leading a nation of Muslims. And the point I'm trying to make here is, it is difficult, but there's so much blessing in it. And I just want to leave it off on, like, a positive note, that even though the beginning is hard, which is kind of the harsh reality of it, after that beginning phase, it's a lot better. And trust me, like, there's no comparison. Like, being in Medina with your wife is much better than being in Medina without your wife, or being in Medina with not being married. So, guys, this is the video. I just want to leave it on a positive note, that everyone is, like, not just to be scared that, how much it costs and, like, how hard it is. The beginning is hard, and there are some difficult parts throughout. However, the blessing of it and the beauty of it outweighs any of the difficulties. So I want to leave it on that positive note, and I hope to see you guys next time. Assalamu alaikum.